Hello and greetings to my dear colleagues. I am at your service with another product, and we are going to review the intraoral scanner R-Zui in Scancus together, the product that we unboxed together in the previous session and talked about in detail. Is the Petri Panda scanner. A scanner that, despite its lightweight, provided a comfortable scanning experience. And as a classic pod product, had the same typical connections you would have in a pod scanner, a separate power supply for the scanner, and data input from the scanner to the laptop. There was a desktop stand with the product along with 5 different tips, 7 of which were regular tips of the product and 2 specialized tips, one with a more tapered mirror angle on the distal level and one with a less tapered mirror angle on the mesial level. We had a flash for the product software that was installed. We updated the software so that we could have a smooth experience. And a system with an RTX graphics card would be able to support the scanning experience, that we should get a smooth scan. We talked about the calibration part, and today we will review the calibration steps together. Here I have 2 cassettes. One of the cassettes is actually a training model where we will see the scanning work in the upper and lower minds together. I also have a clip of a tooth that has been extracted that we will evaluate the scanning process. Next to that, we will have a subtractive scan for an implant case, and we want to see how this product performs in scanning metal bodies. It will allow us to have these 2 values together. All right, I've turned on the scanner. There's a small light that serves as an indicator for the various functions we will perform. Now I will introduce the patient's name in the software. Our patient is named Smart Feature, and now I'm entering the initial data into the software. Now we are ready to start the scanning phase. If I open the software here, I can begin the scanning process. With Fatal Scan is also available. In the image, the Panda scanner gives you a series of cool features here. You can change the light intensity according to the object you want to scan. In 3 different levels, 1, 2, and 3, here you can increase or decrease the light intensity. If I were working on a foreigner on a patrol, light intensity 1 would definitely be enough for that. I have a stronger light source. When scanning, I use level 3 for teeth. There's also a resin scan, an intermediate level between 2 light intensities. An indicator helps normalize scan quality. If the tongue or cheek obstructs the image, the busy image helps ignore further areas, reducing artifact chances. For specific areas like a post hole, use the deep format for better image depth, ensuring clarity, especially in the post hole depth. Choose deep or shallow if you are in a place where language creates conflict. I like the image or the type of sound. Shallow image helps you ignore the more distant sounds in the image and reduces the chance of creating artifacts for you. On the other hand, if you want to work somewhere, for example, you want to scan a post and you need a better depth of clarification, you might do this in the deep format, which can actually provide you with a more thorough clarification, for example, in the depth of your post. We have the scanning phase. We have the upper, lower, and barite scans. Upper arch scan uses the normal algorithm to scan occlusal palatal surfaces, adjacent teeth, rotating buccal to palatal, and completing the image. Scan starts from the scanner. Melody off for now, will activate later. Model prepared, quick image capture with depth in proximal area. First touch captured images, scanner fast, no errors noticed. Good image, need to complete interproximal area. I'm actually doing the start from the scanner itself. I've disabled the melody. Now let's see. After this scanner, we're going to enable the melody so that we can actually see a better experience of what's actually happening. So this is the patient who had the cut. It was done on this model. And you can see that he has a rapid sputum scan with a proper sputum depth in the proximal sputum. The scanner gives me that, and in my first touch, I've almost captured what I needed. I can say the scanner is really fast, and I didn't notice any image errors during the experience. We had a good image, and I need to complete the areas that might be interesting, like the interproximal areas for the mesials or distals. Now, you can see that I need to complete these areas as well. Don't hold back. We had a quick scanner, and since I had a bit more experience now, the control panel will help you to present the file. You see, by rotating the scanner a little, I can actually rotate the product more and present the file. If everything looks good, by just pressing this button without needing to touch the keyboard, I can simply move on to the next step, which is actually the lower scan, effortlessly and smoothly. File processing will usually happen at the end. I'm going to go to the bottom scan now, and the bottom scan is where I have a section that I want to see how it works in the middle scan. Right now my preference is to bring it in and actually put the dip in the middle. Since we're working on the outside, I set it to its lowest setting. And with this format, give the section scan a shot. Well, a fast scanner is giving me an image that is acceptable. I'll rotate it to Bacal and come back. I don't want to go into that right now. I'm just actually scanning my area with the scanner. I'm trying to figure out how big our file will actually be. I want a new retouch here. And the picture is complete. We fold the proximal whistle again so that we can complete the picture. I didn't have the same in this trachea in the first picture, and now I'm completing it. This space actually helps with the clinga, so you can also clean the edges of this cavity without any problems. And now that's where we're going to evaluate it. You see the product for scanning the empty space in the proximal areas. Now we have a comfortable and convenient scan in the areas around the empty space. And now let's go to the image of the heifer. Well, I think it was very successful in scanning the heifer, and one of the scanners with the heifer's image is very good compared to what we've seen so far. I think it's a good idea to post the heifer with the heifer. The top might be a good area too. Well, I'll try to make my image more complete with these proximal ones with repeated flashes. I think I can get it deep into that area up to the distal wall. I think if we had a skin area like this, maybe, we could actually test that mirror. It might be a good idea to compare this now. I was scanning with a normal tip, and here you can see that in the distal part of this cavity, there's a spot that, despite my efforts, I couldn't capture. Although I managed to capture it sufficiently, that distal surface is a bit challenging. Let's change the tips and see if with a distal tip, can really provide a better scanning experience. Does it do better or 9? I placed the distal tip, and now I just want to see if our scanning experience will be really easier with this distal tip. In that area where I'm actually currently having a challenge, yes, you can indeed see that I was able to do that area more easily now. Well, I think about that a lot. Definitely. It was a good example for us to evaluate this feature and its overall design. This mirror is a mirror that works very well for a distal set and for a set that is a bit out of reach. So I'm evaluating the file here. I can still improve the interproximal areas of the image to see how it works in finding new areas. I hit start, and let's start scanning again. Well, the file finds its position very quickly. And in fact, it's very good at finding its position, both on occlusal surfaces with complex topography, and I think on smooth surfaces like these. Lingual surfaces. It works very well. It was a great experience, and it might also be a good comparison for evaluating this product in scanning deep areas of cavities. After this phase, I'm going to move on to the next phase, which is the bite scan. For the bite scan, I'll place 2 bites on top of each other and proceed to capture the scan. Let's see how it performs in the bite scan. It has a small lag, and now I'm going to continue. I'll bring the light back, and I think it might be necessary to adjust this setting each time. All right, I'm hitting start. Very well, we saw a very successful and fast bite scan, and the results are quite promising. With its high accuracy, I think this product could be really good for your clinical and everyday work. Okay, so this is what you need to scan these different parts. And now it's time to get the file ready to send. I'll click on next to process, and it says an approximate time of about a minute that it needs for the skin processing. This is the time that we need at the end of the scan for each product to complete the render. And based on the AI that has that sound that was previously incomplete, it can complete the image. Well, this may be an additional phase, which usually requires the same amount of time, and in most products, what we have seen now, if I were to say as a summary, although it is a bit tricky and a bit challenging to scan at all, but we had a very fast and easy scan. The second disadvantage that was now apparent, in my opinion, was its successful scanning at the depth of the hole, which was able to scan to an acceptable depth in a proper manner. Also, what we saw was the additional capability of that type in scanning the stack, which is somewhat possible. Normally, in the audible scanner, we have challenges such as the surfaces of the walls of a low space, where you usually have scanners that may have some challenges in capturing the walls in the depth view, and maybe this tip provision helped make the final one a little more effective. I can do the scanning. The presetting is done, and after this presetting, you have to prepare the file for the... I'll wait a few seconds, and then my file will be ready to send. Here you have a series of analyses on the right toolbar. Analyses such as space measurement analysis. For example, if you have milled the occlusal surface and you want to make sure it has enough clearance, you can measure the distance here. You can also measure the other one if you wish. In fact, you have it here for the undercoat and not for the... If everything looks good, the file is ready to send. I can check the byte scan. I'm scanning the image below. You can see the image above. I'm zooming in. I can get a detailed scan with the right details here. Even the final one, which is root carré, was done here because it is. And finally, the scan of the lower jaw. And what was very promising here was a successful scan that actually had the product for this period and was able to completely do the walls of the cavity. Keep in mind, we have adjacent teeth here, and when the post scanner is a bit more of a challenge for us when you don't have a crown around you. You can get very close to the Aurora and the Heffron and the Sabbath. Usually most scanners don't have a challenge, but when we have these nearby and the space is limited, it's important to be able to scan the Sabbath well to get a good post scanner. The product is ready for sending. Here I can enter the patient's name and the doctor's name. I can also set the file format here. Do I want to send an STL file, apply file that only has the mesh, or a colored ply file? If you want to include information like the margin, you have the option to do that here as well. You can define the margin line, but when it's transferred to another design software, you usually won't have the margin line. This feature might help you take a snapshot of that margin line, and that snapshot will be organized in the package that the software provides for this product. For the patient, that snapshot will serve as a guide for the preparation or edge, allowing you to optimize your design. A colored file is definitely larger in size, but it contains additional data that might help the designer in the design process. If your patient needs a different type of note, you can specify that here, or your edge that can reach that optimization. The color file is definitely a larger file, but it has additional data that may help the therapist's colleague. If you remember, you can specify that your patient actually needs a different file. If in your initial planning you had selected a restoration, you would have had the option to choose the color and type of restoration to add to the workflow. This information is always needed for your patient. Now we will go through this process in scanning your implant cast together. I will select the color option. The information is specified, and if I click Finish, the case will be saved E for sending to the laboratory. It's going to be sent to the laboratory now. In this export, you can choose your own lab on your own fleet, which will directly transfer your case from this clinic, from this doctor, from this clinic with this name, to the lab of Rasvar. We saw the scanner on the cassette model together. We want to see how the Panda scanner, the Petri model, and a Simplon will perform in body scanning. Follow. me. So let's go to the scanner, the plaster cast of someone who has an implant. And well, as usual, it's a much easier, smoother product for scanners because it doesn't have a neuroreflector. I've described the patient. I'll immediately go to the treatment plan. Here's an implant case that I'll choose. Actually, this is actually whether I want to have a paintbrush for it or not. It doesn't have paintbrush or anything else. You can set the type of material you choose here. For example, I want to prepare a PMA for it. You can set the color here. For example, the color is Ado, and if you remember, you have an extra one. You can specify the zone here. I have lower wisdom teeth, teeth number 6 and 7. My desired zone for the treatment plan is very good. With this, I will actually go to the scan phase and set up my light again. Now, since I want to scan the plaster, I'm setting the light to a minimum here. It doesn't really matter much in a clinical setting. I can choose the scan type here so that we won't have any artifacts, see, or we can select normal. I want to start scanning the lower arch first, and then I'll move on to the upper arch. The distal tip is what I'm focusing on, so I'm changing the tip to a regular one. Look, I'll change it and put a regular type on it. And carefully clip the scan pack gently above the buccal level and securely, ensuring it is properly positioned. And as you can see, we can get a very fast flow on the gypsum cast without having much of a challenge to register a specific boundary. And our file is ready to continue. I can check the file here. You can actually check the 3D model by playing with it. I want to complete the image on the edge of my lateral and left canine. I'll go back and find it very quickly. Paolo completed that part for me. Now I'll press next to scan. You can see the image below. With this button, you can have control over the steps of your scan. We have a free end on both sides of the lower arch, and I'm starting by scanning the area without the presence of a scan body. After that, we'll go back to scan this area along with the scan body. This is the catalog where you scan the lower arch area without the presence of a scan body. You've captured the contact, and now everything seems ready for your next scanning phase. Now this is the stage where I need to specify the areas for scanning. You really need to mark the areas you want to scan. I'm stopping here to scanning the area with the scan body. So the first step is to attach the scan bodies. Here it says to specify the implant. Areas. I'm marking the area and it will delete that part of the image to register the scan body. Information in the catalog. I'm attaching the scan bodies. I'm using metal scan bodies. Well, there are definitely more challenges when scanning a metal piece compared to scanning scan bodies, which usually have a matte surface and are easier to scan. If you have a problem with your device, you can make the scanning experience easier by symbolizing it. Well, I have marked the areas. And now I'm quickly moving on to what I need to do, which is scanning these two metal pieces, the occlusal surface and the lingual surface. Back when scanners were, in fact, actually a little weaker, I would sometimes color a spot on the plaster cast with a magic marker. That coloring sometimes helped me to scan it more easily. Here you see the fleece because it has a shiny surface. There is a bit of a challenge for the product on the sides, but the advantage of these scanners is that they only work on the occlusal surface. If you have an acceptable scan, I will stop the scan. I want to check the file. Well, I want to zoom in a little more to see the image. Here I have the topography of the occlusal surface. Now the detail is almost there. You can actually see the boil and the location is actually following those grooves. But I'll have to refine it so I can get a more accurate image here. I'll give you some buccal of this one. Let's complete it again, and then let's go for our bite scan. It recovers the image very quickly, and I'm going to start scanning this, I think. This scan is actually a metal symbol. This piece will also help us have a better experience. Now that's enough. It seems like we have a good scan. Nothing that caught my attention with this product is the fan noise. Now it might be said as a problem that there is a fan noise circuit. There is a lot of noise in similar products, but now it is definitely a very minor problem. Maybe I couldn't look at it, but now I have to keep this in mind. Well, I'm ready to go to the buccal scan with my file. In this phase, I definitely need to open the air scan if there is any interference with the lower jaw. Now, since there is no interference, it may not be necessary for me. I will come to the front part because I have normal teeth. So we need to do the scan here in the front part. And again, like in the previous phase, we need to give the same quick scan and verify the position of the lower jaw. Okay, the file is now ready to be sent. This post-processing is complete. We want to pay attention to the topography of the scanned surface. It should have an accurate topography in the final version. Our job is to make the lab easily trace the design location on this file. We are waiting for the complete file to be seen. Your patient must remain until the end of this phase. If for any reason there is a problem with your scan, you should definitely check the file as soon as the patient is sitting down. This is a problem that scares the patient. You must actually ask him to remain until the end of the file. If the walls are fully captured, if the implant is clear, or if there's anything else, and if everything looks good, then you can release the patient. Now that the post-processing is underway, it's necessary for me to summarize. We had a Panda scanner. I had the Panda scanner model Petri, which is a fast scanner. In the proximal area, we needed a little reach, and it has good detail with a precision of 10 microns. Essentially, it can provide a fine scan. The types are the types that can be used in numerous clubs. And the setup is the normal setup that you usually see in pods. Separate power connections, separate data connections, and so on. If we use pods, it is an accepted practice. Although newer products are moving towards a more private and smoother experience. I want to show you what we need to pay attention to is the scanning method, right? Now you can see that this is a fine image that can detect that bulge up. Now if you move the scanning method forward appropriately based on this topography, and the grooves that are actually on the surface of this piece, the scanning method will add the position of this plane to our scan file for comparison. And well, you can also check the scans, think up, think down, and if everything is as you want, send the file to Labrasavar, send again. We are following the same previous step. You choose the format, what format the file will be saved in and sent, if you need additional explanation. And now, if you want to send a package, you finish the job, and it goes to Aras. This is sent as a package containing various files, and you can send the file as a compressed RAR file to your laptop and use it there. Very good. It was a good experience, pour aussi. The Panda P series scan was easy and acceptable. The scan was of good quality and the scanning depth was appropriate. The only thing I have mentioned is that it was a manual one. In fact, it was a fan. We had a psychological experience with the software, meaning it was not complicated. It was user-friendly and actually had a good UI design. And the file that is sent is with the normal quality that we usually expect. The file actually outputs the steel and has a reasonable price range for the price. In this segment, it is actually a very capable product, considering the cost that Dentash incurs for it. I think we needed a very efficient product to start entering the digital wheel. Please receive additional information from the company's official communication channel. I would like to thank Nutrident for providing the opportunity to record the video, as well as the people at Future Mac for their support in recording the video. Please be sure to watch other videos, open reviews of previous products. Please come back and join us. In fact, what we are doing is to make it easier for colleagues to enter the demozital cycle. Your help is seen as a guardian, Scandis' presence in a community, and it would be great if this were understood so that you can take advantage of this opportunity to save your time and energy. The ValueVista scanner is a great investment for your practice. It offers a lot of benefits with its advanced features, and I hope these videos serve as a small step for your entry into this path. Thank you very much for your support. Best wishes, and take care.